trend in the third millennium for whitewater kayaking is freestyle. This means using the river as a game field for the execution of acrobatic evolutions that, apart from being highly spectacular, give a feeling of lightness and freedom. Surfing a wave and feeling the water running under the kayak is one of the most pleasurable sensations of our sport. The secret of catching a wave lies in the angle of incidence, which must be as tight as possible. The ideal position for surfing is with the body weight just below the crest of the wave, where the water is slowest and most vertical, with the bow free of the water to provide greater maneuverability. Stern ruddering is best for controlling the angle of incidence. When the kayak tends towards downstream, paddle shifting the torso forwards. When the kayak tends towards upstream, back paddle shifting the torso backwards and leaning to give belly. If the bow plunges into green water, it is sufficient to raise a flank to make it re-emerge. To make surfing even more dynamic, it is possible to use carving techniques. Inclining the kayak towards the inside of the curve and using the back of the blade as a pivot point, the canoe can move from one part of the wave to another, exalting the sensation of velocity. On long waves and smooth water, surfing is gentle, almost in slow motion, and control strokes are reduced to a minimum. On short waves, surfing is dynamic and rapid, and control strokes are multiplied, if not constant. Pole brace, also called side surfing, means controlling the kayak crossways in a hole, and it is indispensable for whitewater descent. The upstream flank is raised to let water run under the hull. It is very important to keep as much body weight as possible inside the kayak. The paddle is deeply immersed. More resistance from the water means greater bracing, but the paddle must not be rigid so it can adapt to the movements of the water. To maintain balance inside the hull, both high and low bracing can be used. To exit the hull, it is sufficient to turn the brace stroke into a propulsive stroke, forward or backward according to the direction chosen, accompanying it with an energetic push from the legs. Within a hull, the kayak rarely stays still in one position, but tends to move forwards and backwards. When we want to exit, it is important not to oppose these movements, but to go with them and use them as a kind of catapult to aid the exit. Double pump. This is the fundamental movement for all vertical figures. To execute a double pump, start from a stop with the kayak upright. The paddle blade, in what is more than a pushing action from below, moves forwards and backwards, tracing a kind of X in the water in the central part of the working zone. The push from the blade and the shifting of the torso forwards and backwards, together with the action of the legs and abdominal muscles, permit raising first the bow and then the stern of the kayak from the water. Spin. This is a rotation of 360 degrees with the kayak horizontal. The figure is divided into two rotations of 180 degrees each. The first is performed back paddling and the second with a forward stroke. The legs aid in turning and maintain the kayak flat with respect to the water. During the entire maneuver, the eyes remain fixed upstream. A spin executed with a single paddle stroke is called a clean spin. A spin performed without using the paddle becomes a super clean spin. Paddling with the weight of the body forward or with a double pump, the kayak is sent into vertical. The torso shifts forwards and backwards to counterbalance the movements of the kayak, and the arms reach downwards to submerge the entire paddle. Moving one blade or the other, the kayak is held in equilibrium. It is useful to hold the paddle away from the hull to enlarge the base of support. Fixed stern point. The boat is put into vertical. Shift the weight backwards and reach upwards with the arms to find a base of support and hold the kayak in equilibrium. Blunt. This is a rotation of 180 degrees that puts the stern in vertical. With the canoe upright, raise its flank as head and torso execute a sudden torsion towards downstream while shifting the body weight forward. As the kayak straightens into vertical, use the back of the paddle to find a fulcrum for the rotation. The legs, along with the abdominal muscles, push the bow downwards. Back blunt. This is a 180-degree rotation that puts the bow into vertical. The figure begins by back surfing diagonally across the crest of a wave. Putting the kayak upright, shift the weight backwards while using the blade of the paddle as a pivot point, and push the kayak upwards with the legs. Cartwheel. The cartwheel is a 360-degree rotation with a kayak vertical. Use a double pump to emerge the bow. Once past vertical, the head and torso rotate in anticipation of the movement of the kayak. The blade finds solid support with the spoon of the blade, which together with the action of the abdominal muscles and the legs allows the kayak to go vertical. If the cartwheel is performed in a hole, the point of penetration of the kayak in the water is slightly downstream of where the foam meets the green water. A cartwheel executed without using the paddle at all is called a super clean cartwheel. Executed on the edge of a cascade, it is called a freewheel. With the kayak atop a rock, it's called a rock wheel. Air loop. Basically, the loop is a front flip with your kayak landing back in the hole. To initiate the move, plunge the bow into the incoming green water, pointing precisely upstream. As your boat dives deep into the water, you must stand up. As soon as you reach the highest point, tuck forward and throw yourself over the paddle. As you feel your stern come down, about to enter the green water, you want to open your body up and kick your feet over your head to land the boat flat on the water.